in the history of civilization. I've come to believe. I really have come to believe that. Yes, and that is the Great War, World War One. There were no winners in this war. It has greater consequences than the Second World War, which was fought over the treaties that ended the First World War, most assuredly. And hello, Felipe. Good to have you here. And yes, we started a few minutes late. That's all entirely my fault. Okay. So I am just restarted the save game from where we were before, so I am checking out what's going on. Okay, now this gun here, or this battery here, the 7th Artillery, it has 9 shells. Depending on what might... See, right now, if we attack there, that's going to be bad for us. So we might see about pounding on that hard, or we might see about pounding on that soft. Now here, we could do this pretty well. So these Portuguese. How many? Oh, 6 rounds here. 6. There we go. Kaboom. The things in Venezuela, Felipe is saying, are crazy. Sadly, Brazil government side with Maduro. Yeah, that boy, that is kind of thing. I think to a point, Felipe, that's just typical of Latin America. It's and I know Felipe will sort of agree with and we'll get to the next few commenters here. Does sort of agree with me. He is from Latin America. Hey guys, those of you on Twitch, and I hope YouTube is working well. Let me check over here, see if it's on YouTube. There's no comments here. Yep, we're on YouTube. Good. You all, and there are links around, if not immediately on any of these streams, to our Discord server. I say our because, yes, it's mine, but there's a lot of us there. Had a very interesting conversation about 4 hours ago on there. So you all ought to join it. I think you guys would find it fascinating to be there as well. It is entertaining. And yes, sometimes there's often live streams, including not just from me, from other people of games. So, but one of the things we were talking about was cultural zeitgeist, sort of cultural views. I'm sure we can find, and I'm just popping in my head right now. One of them would be Sparta. I would say, the country in ancient Greece. But most of the time, on most of the world, corruption is the norm, isn't seen as necessarily a bad thing. It's just seen as the way things are. And it really was, and I don't know how much religion, and I think it was partially, it does come out of the Reformation to reform the Catholic Church, to reform society. Um, so it's not necessarily an anti-Catholic thing, but it does come out of Martin Luther's idea of reform that in the northwest of Europe, because I do want to include the Dutch in this, as well as the Anglos and the Germans, is the idea that corruption, yes, exists, but should be fought. That it is a cultural value, not just is it legal, is it in the laws somewhere, but what is the actual cultural viewpoint regarding corruption. And Latin America is colonized by rather corrupt, not the most corrupt, but rather corrupt elements of European society, that being Spain and Portugal. And so it has left an indelible mark on Latin America, its corruption levels. And I think even right and left, I don't know if one side is more than the other, but they may truly to a degree mean their political ideologies, but they're at a heart just corrupt. That they may give like lip service to democracy and winning the vote, etc., but ultimately they're just there corrupt to stay in power as long as they can. And I think that is probably, from my quick analysis here, is probably the situation with both Venezuela and Brazil right now, and not, in being that in form, particularly in form, they're trying to, in Venezuela, try to be a democracy when really they are a dictatorship that is acting in the name, not necessarily the interests, but in the name of the masses. And similarly, Brazil, which, at least from my outside look, has more recently trying to actually be a functioning democratic representation form of government, but its corrupt elements had allowed elections to go that put, I know some people want to talk about, it's the ideology of the left, hooray, yay, but I think it's as much about the personalities involved that just wanted into power and work with each other. Hello, Jamnuska. How you doing? Herr Dorf will be pleased with the offensive. Well, we'll see about that. And Arno, good to see you on both Twitch and YouTube. I noticed that dictators and communists use the word democracy and democratic a lot. Yeah. And again, we had some interesting thoughts. I'm not going to dig too deep into them here now. But part of that, using the word democratic and democracy a lot, comes from U.S. propaganda around World War II. They legitimately couldn't say that they were fighting for freedom, because the Soviet Union sure the hell wasn't a free nation, but was something that might be mistaken by people to be democratic. Okay, let's turn the units off. Okay, that we would like that town. So we have 10 shells here. There could be a lot of attacks that are stalled out, but I don't think so. So we're going to shoot 2 because we'll get 2 resupplied next turn. Now, is that good enough odds that, we might come back to that. But let's look down here where we have a tank. Now, this artillery piece is too far back to do any good. So, yeah, what we're going to do here is I think we'll be able to shift and click and switch these units here. Now, it's moved, so it's not going to shoot this turn, but this unit, sort of in a technical way, hasn't moved, so we will be able to reinforce it. That's why we did the shift. I think Felipe what governments and the people in the governments, not just faceless, nameless organizations, but the people in the governments should state and before 2 things that are very compatible with each other, meaning go along with each other, but are not necessarily the same thing. Meaning they're sort of referring to the same thing, but they're different. 1, they should be for good governance. Okay? Not just based upon, what formula you want to use. Democratic, dictatorship, legalistic, constitutional. We can throw in a lot of words there. But good governance, and they should govern for the benefit of all. And if you look at both Plato and Aristotle, I'm more of an Aristotelian, meaning for Aristotle than I am for Plato. But the way they used language, and they both thought the worst possible government that you could have was a democracy, because they both basically, there may be some nuances between them, but they both basically describe democracy as ruled by the many for the benefit of the many. And if you want to, and both of their systems sort of fall apart down there, but and we're going to look at Aristotle, which I like better. He believed he was sort of the 3 types of governments with a positive and a negative version. So a monarchy was ruled by one for the benefit of all. Not necessarily that it's like a hereditary king, could in essence be a dictatorship, but ruling for the benefit of all. And a tyranny is ruled by one for the benefit of the one person. That was a tyranny. So a monarchy and a tyranny. And then you had an aristocracy and an oligarchy. And this is Plato's versions of these words, or translations thereof. An aristocracy was ruled by the few for the benefit of all, and an oligarchy was ruled by the few for the benefit of those few. Then you had democracy, again, ruled by the majority for that majority, not everybody, but for that group of people. And this is sort of where Aristotle does fall down in his sort of doing duopoly. He defined the good version of it as being a republic, which was a mixed form of government of mixing democracy and aristocracy together to create a republic that was the best form of government. But again, his sort of his formula comes down because he could not envision a term of government or group of people that was democratic, pure sort of democratic, that would actually rule for the benefit of all. He could see either a single elite person or a group of elites trying to make judgments, not like for the working class or for the middle class or for the upper class or for the people that live in the mountains or the people that live in the plains or whatever. But he could try to, make judgments that sometimes will hurt the guys in the mountains and sometimes hurt the guys in the plains, but overall trying to take care of everybody. And so, yeah, I can talk about Twitter some other time, Arno, but yet no Twitter today. So you have that sort of, because Aristotle thought that the elites could be informed well enough to make these sort of kind of judgments, but the masses were never going to be informed well enough to make these kind of judgments. So the system sort of falls apart there. Plato does things different and talks about his republics, and which is a different idea in use of the term republic than a just simply Aristotle is mashing together aristocracy and democracy to create his republic, and that's basically what America is. Plato wanted people with souls of gold to rule and to be the leaders, and people with silver souls, like the metal. I mean, he was speaking metaphorically, but to be the sort of guardians of the people, the sort of the police and the military, wasn't necessarily defining those out, and other sorts of, I don't know, bureaucrats or whatnot. And then I forget what metal that he used, whether it was lead or iron or whatever, probably more lead, for just the base people in there, in which they would have no say at all over, no democratic say at all over how they're being ruled, because they just didn't have the right type of soul. No one including no one, including Aristotle. I'm not sorry, Plato. Even Plato was given a chance to sort of try out a system. Could ever figure out how to judge men's souls as to who was good and who wasn't. Right now, Argentina is the only South American country being really a democracy. Well, I don't know if they're being a democracy or not, but I mean, I think Milei is popular. What I see, Argentina right now is the only country that I know of, particularly large country in South America, that is trying to be, what would be a good term? Free market, trying to get rid of top-down heavy government of one form or another. And they seem to be doing very well. I base the soul on ability to dance well. Well, see, maybe that's what Plato should have had everyone do. Once they get to, I don't know, a particular age, they used to, people became adults a bit younger back then, see how well they could dance. And then those that dance well, okay, yeah, so those that had high dance skills would become the leaders. So maybe, maybe he messed up there. I do not know. Okay, now, we try to kill that or not. Oh, I thought you already had that idea in mind. Okay. See, I'm afraid if I move him to here and kill this unit, which I think I would, I would then lose this unit. So I don't know if trading units here after all the other damage that we had is worth it, because these other units would all attack here. So I think we will not push our offensive there. And this is sort of, in my opinion, and I'm using this game, and this game is actually simply making me think about World War I. That and it's not an ideology. Well, it's a viewpoint. But World War I destroys, because the institutions that are made up of basically men back then failed society. And I don't mean just government. That's why I'm saying institutions. It could be the church. It could be business organizations, social organizations. Just everything fails society to one level or another. Before World War I starts, you have units like, say, in the German army, and that would even be wrong, because there was like the Bavarian army and the sort of Prussian army that made up the Imperial German army. You would have, say, a battalion or whatever, a regiment or whatever you want to call it, that would come from, a given place. And sure, there are class distinctions, absolutely, and that's part of the idea. But also, the sergeant in whatever 3rd Wittelsbach, whatever battalion or regiment or whatever, would, and he's a professional soldier, sure, but he was also local, and his brother was a baker, his cousin was a farmer, and another cousin was actually in the unit. And so people in around, the military or other organizations still had personal contact with people. So a local bureaucrat who would feel social pressure, so whether you're going for permission to, I don't know what you necessarily needed permission for, to build on your farm or your building or your business. But if you're trying to get approval for that, or you're trying to, I don't know, get approval for government social, money support because you're out of work or you've been injured in work or whatever, if they were just denying all your claims, well, that one guy, because he's tied to that community much more so, he would feel social pressure to handle the situation within his ability to do so, as opposed to just make judgments for the, what sort of standards does it meet? Yes, no, whatever. I hope you're getting it. I'm trying to formulate this, and I have been in the last few months. It's really starting to come to me, these ideas, and it's not an ideology really so much as a understanding of the change. By the end of World War I, something like this 3rd Wittelsbach battalion is now just made up of people that have been pushed into this unit to do replacements. And so people are being treated like replaceable cogs, cogs in a wheel. Just, they're replaceable. Now, they may need to be trained or to be an officer. So not every person can be an officer, but every person who goes through the training can be the officer, and any person can be the NCO so long as they have enough experience. And so they presume you get treated just cogs in the wheel because the grinding of the gears of World War I were so damaging. They didn't have the ability to try to look for, whether you want to call it souls of gold or souls of silver, but just people of natural talents, and as well as experience, training, or frontline experience, or however you want to say it, as a mixture of things that it's not just replaceable cogs. One, on the one hand, and then two, because the system breaks down in society, and Britain is one of the more survivors of the system, but because we see the German Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapse and the Russian Empire collapse. But it's really the society's collapse. It's not just the particular government's collapse. That they then, instead of looking for new people to replace the people that failed in the system, and because the world was changing so much, and it was changing, and it's sort of like right now, most people or most politicians that are running America don't really know what the internet is. Okay, yeah, I mean they've heard about it, and you really think even 10, 15 years ago, do you really think Joe Biden was getting on his computer and being out there on the internet? And even Trump, who we know uses the internet, but does he really? Does he really use the internet, or does he simply know how to use Twitter? And now he's using his own Truth Social, and people are linking him to videos and whatnot. But is he just using one app on the internet, or does he really know how the internet actually works? I don't know. And so these people. Now there are a few younger, there are a few in Democrat and Republicans in America who do use the internet naturally, and they know, but they're in a very small minority, I think. And again, I'm talking about people in the U.S., House and Senate and presidency, vice presidency. Most of these people don't really use the internet, but they're the ones making laws governing the internet. And so we may see at some point a collapse based around the internet for something. And then the people from the internet go, hey, this whole system's crap. Look how bad it is. They just did. No, it's not the system is bad. It's these people are out of touch. Well, a lot of these people whose training and education in the world that they lived in before World War I couldn't really deal with the modern industrialized world because most of them weren't part of it. Sure, the workers were working in it, but most of them weren't the entrepreneurs, weren't the organizers. And so people then, and this is what we've been fighting over mostly ever since. There are other things that we've been fighting over, but we've mostly been fighting over formula. The Western society has gotten to the point that they believe that, one, people are completely replaceable cogs. That's not true. Two, if we just had the right formula, everything would be fine. And we can see it like in the U.S. State Department. If we just impose the right democratic formula on Afghanistan, which is medieval tribal, and never, outside of Kabul, never really modernized, or Iraq, which has varying, you have Kurds, Sunnis, and Shia. They're not really coherent society. But if we just impose the right sort of formula on it, everything will be fine. That sort of ideological, that we're fighting over formulas. Now, formulas do matter. Communism and capitalism does matter. But I don't know that that's the main matter. Now, sometimes we're also fighting over, in World War II, just simple territory. Germany wanted more territory and wanted the other people removed from that territory. But they're also fighting over formulas. Democrat, dictator, communist, capitalist, and other formulas. Some are business, some are organizational, whether it's a dictatorship or a democracy. And we've been fighting over these formulas when the formulas are important, but I think are secondary as to who the people are, and maybe even third, as to what the culture is. And so they believe that, hey, we can just import a bunch of, like here, Oh, hello, Bum Bum. I'll get some of the chats. Like, oh, hey, we're North America. We can import as many South Americans as we want. No problem. No problem. They'll just be cogs in our machine. But you see, the problem is they're Latin Americans, not Anglo Americans. It has nothing to do with your skin color, your hair color, what genetics you are. It's the Latin Americans are coming from a culture that is corrupt, and the Anglo Americans are coming from a culture that yeah, there's corruption, but it's a lot less corrupt. And if we flood in all of these people from Latin America, you're going to change North America. And depending on what this percentages is, how much you're going to change it. And they see it as just simply replacement cog. They see it as that part doesn't matter, but it does matter. It matters either on the individual, like in leadership roles or whatever, but it also matters in the masses. So if America was going to, I don't know, import all the Canadians and all the Australians, and let's say that there was a lot of them, not just a few, but a lot of them, you'd hardly notice because they're from a similar sort of cultural viewpoint. They got variations, but we got a lot of variations within the United States too. And we would notice some changes, but they would be similar enough because they're similar enough cogs. But not, let's just say the American cogs are square and the Latin American cogs are triangle, and they're not going to really work together well. There's going to be conflict. It's going to be different ideas. So the flooding in of Latin Americans, and I want to say it that way because it's not, again, brown people or black people. That's not the color isn't the problem, because there's a lot of Latin Americans that have very light skin. It's bringing in Latin Americans in mass into an Anglo-American country, and they're just not replacement cogs. They just don't think the same. They don't act the same. And so, it's, and yeah, I've expressed that I like to see not all elements, but a lot, the corruption element or whatever, change in Latin America. But it sort of needs to be an organic change by the Latin Americans, not an Anglo invasion and military type invasion, and forcing the Latin Americans to be less corrupt. That's not the way to do it. It's through soft power, through pressure, through social ideas. Can spread through media. And get the idea. Hey, corruption's bad. You should really get rid of corruption and truly mean it. It's getting rid of corruption and not just getting rid of your enemies that you say is corrupt just because they're your enemies. And they have to inherently want to change their cultural viewpoint. And so, yes, like I say, through media or whatever, we of the superior North may be able to influence the corrupt South here in America to improve. But even then, that may change. They may do that, but that needs to sort of be. They have to, as a society, not every single person, but as a society, think, yeah, that's a good idea. We should get rid of this, and that may happen. So this is some of the stuff that I've been coming to see. And let's get back to the chat here. Venezuela is complicated because Russia and China need Maduro there. USA can't do much. Yeah, there's a complication there, most assuredly. Like OAS needed Brazil to vote to decide Venezuela. Brazil did not vote. Yeah. Organization of American States. That's OAS. Yes. Now I know what you're talking about. So I do know these things once I get in the right frame of mind. I think even worse was Brazil's vice president in Iran in a terrorist meeting. Yeah. There is definitely going on, and will always go on in the world. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So sometimes for good reasons, but not always, and maybe many times most. Latin Americans don't like or resent, or however you want to say it, the U.S. Um, involvement in their countries. Now, I will say this: um, the Monroe Doctrine is what I'm talking about, and the Latin Americans may go, "Oh my God, why should America have, the United States have um, some sort of doctrine that affects us?" Well, I think over history that without the idea of the Monroe Doctrine, and we can see that it was not enforced during the American Civil War because we were in the middle of a civil war, that we see France and Britain, but really mostly France, go in and conquer Mexico. America, even before the Cold War, during the Cold War, through the Monroe Doctrine, is trying to keep out non-American influences in Latin America, and it's rubbing some Latin Americans the wrong way. I understand that. Yes, it is sort of, again, I don't know if paternalistic is the right term, but it is sort of um, the North Americans, we know better than you, whoever, Cubans, Brazilians, whatever. And we may or we may not, but we're trying to keep out outside forces. So sometimes they don't like that we're keeping the outside forces out, but the mere fact that we're doing that and interfering in their local politics is maybe ultimately for their benefit. But they or groups of them may not see that, and they put out propaganda. So yes, you have Venezuela, which had been rather cozy um, relationship with America. I keep using America there, but yeah, the United States. And once Hugo Chavez comes into power and he's nationalizing the oil companies and whatnot, that sours, even though it's post-Cold War, that sours. So the relationship there. So now Venezuelan government officials look for anti-American forces around the world and glom onto them. And I think it's just as much as just the enemy of my enemy is my friend, when even though they are also the enemy. Also, Brazilian government condemned the killing of that guy from Hamas. Yeah, you know, there's a war. There has not been peace in the Middle East since World War II. Okay, since the breakup of European control, and it's not just with Israel, though Israel, of course, is a major element there. Because I've known of other wars and conflicts that were not involving Israel within the Middle East. And, sometimes that the war is like all out, like we're seeing in Gaza. But there wasn't peace before the October terrorist attacks into Israel. It wasn't peaceful. The Arabs attack Israel often. Israel will stop attacking the Arabs whenever they're the ones not being historically aggressive. I mean, yeah, they conquered their little territory, but since, I don't know, 1970 something, they have not been expansionists. In fact, that they have retreated from the Sinai and retreated from the West Bank and retreated from areas. And so it's the Arabs that are the ones that are being the aggressors constantly, and then which provokes Israel into massive aggressions. And then the Arabs run around and cry, oh my God, Israel's attacking us, Israel's attacking us. Yeah, you've been attacking them for so long before they finally reacted to it. So, yeah, so these things are going to happen, taking out terrorist leaders in other countries that the Israelis are going to do. But, whatever. There's a bot over on Twitch you might want to kill. Arno. Okay, let's continue with the game because I do like this game. But I like this game a lot. Maybe I even love the game, but I love talking to you about history and society and my thoughts. Okay, we could attack that. He's very weak there. Let's attack from here. Boom. Okay. I made a mistake. There's probably a guy there. Do I want to go in there and get killed? No. So we're going to leave this hole here to let them come back in. But we've reduced down their strength here. Okay. And so one of the things, again, that I'm looking at and playing this game is, instead of doing an all-out offensive to take both, destroy this unit and try to take this, no, it is not. It's already sloon. Well, very good, Arno. Very good. I just get the secondary report there. I do believe it was quite possible for both sides, or whatever, however you want to look at World War I, to fight it more intelligently, shall we say. And it's not just in tactics of this or tactics of that, but in a way, both offensively and defensively, but fight it in a way that was more economical, particularly with lives, and not throwing them away for the objective, and not becoming, they become, especially I would say in the middle part of the war, towards the latter, they're trying to break through on both sides with more technology and improved tactics. But in the middle part of the war, it's just, if we could just send in another 10,000 men, we would just win this victory, and this victory would then cause the next victory, and it's the way. So just throw it a little bit more in, instead of going, this hasn't worked. Let's fall back. Let's rethink this. Let's think of new tactics, and they just don't seem to do this. The world is a mess. Even the Olympics is a mess. Yes. The Olympics is just, to me, the latest. Okay, we don't have any real movement to get into that, into range, so that'll have to come later. We can reinforce you. And again, instead of just trying to do everything possible to get in there, like here, we could get him here, but we'll probably be ambushed by a unit back here, and so it wouldn't necessarily be a profitable. And I know this is an abstraction. This game isn't a it's a game. It's not a real simulation of the situation on the Western Front. It's just sort of gaming it out a bit. Is the delusion that the West is facing and does not recognize reality. The West does not recognize reality, and the Olympics are just sort of the more blatant example of it. Is, what is a woman? They can't tell the difference between a woman and a man. And so that, yeah, I know the opening ceremonies are, hey, we're going to do an opening ceremony that is not only demonic, but also going to insult Christianity. Yay! We're going to use demonic symbols in there. Oh, we're going to slightly cover it up with some classical Greek symbols, ancient Greece and whatnot. It's at its heart is an attack. The symbology of that is an attack on the West. Is the self-hating part of the West. So yeah, but it's just symptomatic, more symptoms than it is the cause of the problem. And unfortunately, I don't think enough people are recognizing that. They're thinking, oh my God, this is so terrible. Not, oh, we're so fucked up, we don't realize what we're doing. We don't recognize the problems that are here. Let's move you. That might give better supply to some of these forces here. And yeah, the world is definitely a mess. Okay, so here we are pushing forward. We're pushing forward down both of these roads. Again, yeah, for everyone to understand. What we're trying to do is isolate up Verdun. Well, we're trying to get to Paris. Okay. Now, if we just drive towards Paris, what have we done? You know, whether we come this sort of middle wandery route, we come down this route, or we come down this route, and you'll need one of these three basic routes here, minimum one. But what do we do? Well, if Verdun is staying over here in solid, all we're doing is increasing our front line. Okay, and let's get back to sort of this scale here. So if we're coming down here, they'll have enough supply up north here to attack, our flanks. So we'll need strong flanks. And down here, yeah, once we take here, that's a lot of open space that they'll have trouble supplying across. I mean, we'll need to hold somewhere in here. But once we get down nearer to here, they'll have a fair amount of ability to supply, and they'll be able to supply coming up here. So, yeah, it's, there are supply challenges for them, as long as we're pushing down one or both of these sort of side angle pushes. But really what we're doing is opening up our flanks that we're going to have to, some of the spots along here we can put the, we can come here and purchase whatever you want to call them, detachments here that are a lot smaller, and we can have up to, 10 of them or something? Or is it 21? I think it's 21. I think we can have a bunch of those, which will help us, but we're just expanding our front line. Where, if we can come in here and cut off, and we need to take here, well, actually sort of here, but this city's good to take. Cut this off. And so they can't, because right now supplies will flow, though this is a secondary supply, so they'll be able to endlessly defend themselves, but they won't be able to move in fresh units. So once we cut them off effectively, when I kill a unit here, it may be able to respawn, be reorganized back wherever, including, somewhat maybe up in here, but they won't be able to appear here, and they won't be able to just send in more and more fresh units. Sure, they'll be able to dribble in reinforcements, in the sense of, if this goes down to 5, bring it back to 10 or something. But once you kill a unit in the pocket, there won't be another unit to replace it. And this fortress is sort of hard to take. So, and yes, although I think politically, I also think strategically, militarily. So we need to cut this off here, this sort of dagger resting next to our innards, ready to gut us. Cut that off here, which will then free up a huge amount of forces that are sort of all around here, including a lot of artillery and other and tanks, and a lot of forces that can spearhead the assaults. That we can leave a thinner line of defense, strong enough to defend, not strong enough to push, and then use those forces to push in here. Now, what may also happen, which is sort of happening here a bit, they may collapse too, and we may rush in. But we're going to have, we can pick up some area down here, but you can see the way the railway links are. We'd have to come all the way down to here and push all the way up through here to get to Paris. Now, yeah, with the collapse, we might be able to do that, but we'll have to see how this is all going. See, at least we have games to distract. Yes, they do. They do distract. They do keep me somewhat sane. Lets me focus on things other than either my problems or the world's problems at the moment. Time to send Gotha bombers to bomb Paris. Yes, no more Olympics there. Right, I get you. And we do have Oh, not these guys. No, it was a recon. We do have some heavy bombers around here somewhere. Okay, so back to taking a look at this. So we need to push down both these roads because again, if we just push down this road, it gives them the ability to push on the flank. But that will be a supply dead zone because we can see that by hitting S and S again. So if we were coming in from here, this would be zero supply for us. So that would be similarly 1 or 0 supply for the Allies from the south here. So we need to take both of these roads to effectively get where we want to go. Oh shit, I didn't mean to click that. Okay, well. I guess that's where offensive is going to be. Right now. There. Oh, yes, I should have. There's a ground attack. Recon bombers, we should do that first. We're going to recon here. Recon/bomb. Their fighters are going to come up and go after us, and then our escorts are going to escort us in, kill them a little bit, kill us a little bit, kill them a little bit. These guys come in and kill them a bit. Yay! Then we're going to use ground attack bombers, their interceptors, our escorts. The air war is happening. Okay, not very effective. Oh. They're going to retreat back to here. These guys are going to come down here. That will allow these guys to come up here. A little more artillery. Okay, American artillery is up there. Going to hurt us a little bit. And well, this was an ill-planned attack, but we're going to sort of go through with this, even though maybe we shouldn't have. Yeah. Okay. They did retreat. Wow. Okay. They cannot get into position. They cannot get into position. No, we have nobody to exploit that advantage. Well, of limited success. Let's, we don't need to supersize that unit, I don't think. Now down here, let's see if we can look here. Yeah, that looks like we can take that. How many rounds do we have? Ooh, 7. Okay. Right. They're the ones that flown. These guys haven't. I'm just trying to even think, do we even... Okay. I'm deciding not to fly our recon bombers because we are looking at such good odds of taking this unit out. All right. Well, you can see what's happened here. Let's take a look at supply. 11, 12, those are excellent. Next turn, 10, 11. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we've got the points. We're going to come in here, and then we're going to entrench. We're going to come in here and entrench. So now we're moving this line up a little bit here. Now over here, let's fire an artillery barrage. They shatter. All right. Let's move you up to here and you up to here. The next time we can push down a little bit further. All right. So we're getting ahead here. So these are sort of outposts at the edge of the battlefield. I think we've done what he's very weak. That's looking at purchasing. We do have, as Germany, oh no, we have a lot of MPP. Okay, so let's bring back the destroyed divisions. Okay, that's used up all the divisions. But we have 750 more, so we're going to bring in detachments now. Not unuseful, but less useful in the offensive. But would be, like we were talking about, as we push into places, useful that way. I think that'll be enough for now. We can look at our production schedule. So we've got all of these guys coming, and we're in May. Some of these are pre-programmed in, but we're going to be getting these guys here pretty fast in May, June. And Austria will send us some forces in July, August to help us out a bit. So, all right, I think that is good. Let's give the AI its turn. I think that's where we're at. Oh, maybe up in the north I should have looked more. I think, yeah. Last U.S. troops deployed to France. Okay. The tank has moved up. Okay. Our tank is there. Did not do what I really wanted to do last turn there, but still. Yes, we lose 3 MPP. Interceptors, good. That's where we have some around. I'll explain why that was a mistake in a moment. They pulled back here. Wow. There's even more of a mistake if that's what they've actually done. Let's see. Okay, French morale is improving. We've not reached Paris yet. German morale falls because troops haven't reached Paris. Yeah, but suffer due to Royal Navy blockade. Day of public humiliation, prayer, and fasting. Yeah, right. Okay. Yes, we know all these things. Okay. We've got some cavalry here. Tempted to put it down there, but let's look. Yeah, I think I'll go with my temptation of putting it down here. Now, what the AI did wrong in attacking here is, I mean, they have an artillery piece here, and it probably had a lot of shells, so expend it. Okay, I get that point, but what did it do to me? It took a division off the board. Yeah, that's useful to them, but we can look down here. Yes, they did get the tank in here, which is smart. They have this other American tank down here. But they really should have looked at the shoulders. And by moving that artillery piece, trying to get it down as far as you can, here would have been better to support against this push. So the AI is not seeing this trap forming right now. Okay, so yes, looks like we can maybe get you this turn. So we have 7 rounds. So let's. Oh, should have done it beforehand. Yeah. You know, I also want to recon. Oh, okay. Oh, that did it. So I need to expose this unit here, just that it exists. Okay, so let's proceed to kill this with the least amount of losses. We're not going to attack with this unit, however good that would be, and it's not terribly good. So we're going to, because we're going to kill that. And then we're going to come in here and entrench. There we go. That gets us our entrenchment here. Now, well, up here we need to reinforce. That was the one division that we did sort of doing a lot of damage to. Okay, so two rounds. So we're going to hold our fire from our artillery there. Right. Okay. These guys can move in and entrench. I know we're coming up next to the tank, which is scary, but and I do mean that. No, they can't advance, so that will be our sort of best shot there. They're all reinforced as best they can be. Now up here, they brought the Portuguese in. That's always a desperation move. We do want to eventually fully cut this off, but it isn't important. But we have some. Oh, we could upgrade this gun. We're going to upgrade the gun. That's very useful. Probably an early gun deployed here. Hello, Paul. It's been a while. How you doing? Yes, on to Paris. Arno was wanting us to bomb Paris to keep the Olympics from happening, but I think, well, maybe he thought if we destroyed Paris in 1918, it wouldn't be around for the modern Olympics. But yeah, either that or he has his time scales screwed up as normal. Okay, so we've got 4 shells, 4 shells. Really want to move on wipers here. Yeah, I know the French call it eeps. Belgian forces still around. 10 shells. Okay, we got 10 shells. So let's bomb the hell out of this division here. Oh, and I should be. Let's strategically bomb there. Strategically bomb there to close that. Ah, good. Now we see what's going on there. Good. They are entrenched. Okay, they've just taken a very big hit. These guys need massive reinforcement. Okay, I think what we'll do is... Didn't quite take it down like I hoped. These guys, yep, to the entrenchments here. Okay, well, Now, pushing up from the south here, we have 5 shells. Yeah, we changed the calculus here. It's going to be, no, we can't move up and entrench, so we won't. But we've taken 2 people off, or 2 divisions off the board for the moment. A lot of people are playing Fallout London, a mod being more popular than the actual game. Yeah, that can happen. I'm just in ways, okay, people use things to deal with their fears. And I think a lot of people consciously or subconsciously fear a societal collapse and what's it going to be like after it. And I think that's why a lot of people play Fallout. I could be mistaken on that. But I do think that is a reason Fallout. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good game in and of itself. I'm just saying that there are reasons for people to. These guys attack, yes. So we can't, but we can. These guys could swap. Okay. The line. I really do believe that if I were to push in here, I'm going to get ambushed, and whatever units that I push in are going to get destroyed. So within the logic and tactic of the game, I know this looks like it's collapsed, and I maybe used too much reconnaissance here to see what's back there, and not enough to. If I could see what was here, this might have been a good place to come in and occupy. But my belief is, from playing this game before, that what they bring in here next turn is going to be ill prepared for the attack. And yeah, I'm just not strong enough to push, I don't think, effectively. And that's sort of, again, some of my thoughts on all this is effectiveness is a real sort of issue here. Okay, let's try to take out this cavalry division. Okay, they shattered with just the losses of that first division there. Now that leaves us with Hmm. Oh, you fall back to there. You come back to there. I was clicked on that unit. There we go. There we go. And entrench, because unlike the tanks, they can. There's Blackjack Pershing. Does anyone know why he's called Blackjack Pershing? Please post in the comments. You can post later on, or or when I, those live can post, or those later that are watching this post. Without Googling, I know you guys can Google, but without Googling, does anyone know why he's called Blackjack Pershing? Yes. Hello, Chaplain for Bacchus. Good to have you here. Absolutely. Absolutely. He got it. Buffalo Soldiers. Now, without, because that may still be confusing some people, do you or anybody else know why they're called Buffalo Soldiers? And then I'll explain to those who may not know what it all was. Hello. Not enough vowels. Sturkey Taki? Hi. Played this several days ago. Well, cool. Doing well. Difficult in this game to create a true breakout. As you weaken one area, the AI draws from another area, and of course, from an area you're not strong enough to launch an attack. Yes, Paul. Now I've done yes, with buffaloes. Okay, yes, and Chaplain for Bacchus. Yes, Taki is okay. Good. Yeah, they were African American soldiers or black soldiers. Like most countries, most places, there was segregation. Um, and I'm sure to a point their black skin was, because buffalo are dark. But buffalo has rather curly hair, and the African soldiers have curly hair, and they're dark, so they reminded them of buffalo. So that's how they get it. So Blackjack Pershing commanded black units in the American West for a while in his younger days, and was, I gather, rather popular with his troops. So he did well, and so that's how he got the name Black and added to Jack. So that then only one Western Front here. Yeah, this is a divisional level scenario that's played every few days per turn, and it's the Ludendorff Offensive. It isn't the whole war. And so you're right, Paul. You have to put strain on multiple places. My main attack is here to cut off Verdun, but I'm also pushing on the flanks here, which is, just took out 3 British divisions. Actually, I think 2 divisions and 1 brigade or detachment, whatever they want to call it. And I'm also pushing in here, so that the AI has to worry about here as well as what is my main offensive. Once I get Verdun at minimum entirely cut off and, have a front line somewhere down here and them just sort of being surrounded maybe by just detachments, or taken out, one of the two, fully taken out the position, then I'm going to shift all of the tanks and the artillery and the good offensive forces to a frontal assault through here. But we're also going to hopefully have pushed along the coast and other places here. So that is sort of the plan, all subject to the flow of battle. So we will see. Love to have taken out that headquarters. Okay, just looking for other vulnerabilities. I think, yeah, not so much there, maybe. Now, down here. And should we okay, we need to get this artillery piece here. So, yeah, let's swap these out. That kills any action points there, but we can see here, we don't have very good supply coming down through here. That is affecting us. Not keeping us. We only have 3 action points for these 2 divisions instead of 4, and we can't fully reinforce here, so it does make it a little weaker. I do sort of want to keep the pressure up, so I'm making assaults on this very weak unit. My next real target here, now that I got these 2 artillery positions here, oh, I should have, no, that's still too far away, is this division here, because we'll be able to hit it from artillery and whatnot and pushing here. You do not want to sit in any where these French units are. Leave them be, because if you come the hex next to a fortified hex, you get automatically artillery bombarded every turn. So it's not necessarily heavily damaging, but it's just a persistent thing. So let them have their cushion around it, and it will also, when you do cut them off, cut off more units, because there's obviously 1 unit in each one of these fortress hexes. So you definitely want to see about that. These we pushed in earlier, so I don't know that there's anything more to do down here. Are there any aircraft to reinforce us? Maybe using them this turn. Use fully reinforce. Unit to the road, improve your supply west of Verdun. Well, quite possibly, he was sort of sitting up somewhere up here, and I moved him down. The closer he sort of is, the better my understanding is. I don't know how much on or off the road specifically matters. Um, I wanted him sort of forward because I'm pushing here right now. Um, yeah, I don't want to move this, move too much of the artillery. The railway gun has to be on the railway, so it does sort of limit a little bit. And then, do I want to, we're sort of caught in a traffic jam, if you will. In future, we will get maybe an Ukraine-Russian version. You mean offensive in the east? It could be, could be. I've not specifically heard that they're coming out with some of that. The big thing that they're being pushed right now is, and I actually haven't really played it yet, is the Pacific War. They have a Pacific War game that I do want to try. I'm just sort of, being a bit lazy here, and since I've been playing this, to continue it instead of try to figure out a new, meta of how to play this on a specifically. No, maybe like a modern war. Well, for strategic command, I hope not. I hope not. The strategic command game, the way it's organized up, the way it's played, whether played on all the different levels, it doesn't do movement well. Now, I know we have sort of a static situation currently in Ukraine war. I suspect highly, unless you know specifically, unless you've actually, Toki, have heard specifically that they're getting it, I suspect highly not. Now, mod may show up because people make mods, but I don't think we'll see either a DLC or I think I want him here, a DLC or a standalone game, just to play and talk. Please, yeah, I hear you, Paul. Just everybody knows I do contract work for Slithering and Matrix. Not that they tell me all kinds of secrets. I know a few, upcoming stuff, but a lot of stuff I don't know. So, just saying, they want to stay away from the controversy of the current war. I know they do very much want to stay away from what's going on with the current war. So I think it's high. I don't think they would want to publish it right now. So, but similar to the Great War, they lead to trench warfare. Yeah. So let's rebuild this division, and let's bring in another detachment. Upgrade it. So, but the structure of the game doesn't do mobile warfare well, in my opinion. I like World War I with this game better than I like the two that I played, World at War and War in Europe. I mean, I like those games, but I like World War I better. And the American Civil War game is, with its DLCs, is also pretty good. Where that falls down is the inability to have a Gettysburg or a Manassas. You can see structurally the American Civil War definitely spread out in sort of brigades and divisions and whatnot over the large terrain. But they come together for, like an Antietam, or like I say, a battle of, Gettysburg or something like that, that all get in together as one. and it structurally doesn't do that well. Some of the games that I've played that are more lower level tactics with the American Civil War are good. So it's just this turn based, the way this goes. Partly is every turn, most of these divisions. Hope you can hear me over the artillery fire. Can get fully reinforced. Now they get reinforced, yes, but they are still, lower morale, lower readiness. So it's not they're 100% back. No, but they're 80, 90% back every single turn. And I don't like that. I wish that you could only, get back, I don't know, potentially, half of your points in some sort of scale. So, like, if you go down from, I don't know, 10 to, from a full strength 10 unit down to 6, you could only get back 2 factors. So you'd be back to 8. That would do better for simulating more mobile warfare. So, yeah. I think the time scale, and I love the we might lose a division there. Yeah. I love these scenarios they're not daily, they're every few days, whatever it is, I don't exactly remember. I love these they do the best at playing the war. So I really do like these scenarios that they've released. Yeah, I hear you. You like World War I better. So there's just better games to play World War II with, and I think modern warfare. I also don't think we know enough about what's going on in the Ukraine war right now. I mean, we know positions and and whatnot, and I'm not saying the intelligence services don't know. I'm saying we, the general public, don't know, because war, deception is part of war. So Ukraine and Russia had better be lying to us about what's going on, because if they're not, they're being out. That wasn't a good thing, but we could probably kill this and bring in another unit there. So I think on that sort of thing, people can do what they want, and I'm not suggesting they shouldn't do what they want, but I don't think it's a good idea to really try to do a war game based on something that is this current, that we can't sort of look back and see, if you understand what I'm saying. Just how effective are drones in warfare? We know they're doing a lot of stuff, but how many drones a day is Ukraine getting? How many drones a day is Russia getting? And different types of drones and all of that, and what is it really affecting the battlefield? We're seeing, at least I'm seeing, the war through a camera lens. Whether it's a lens, sometimes I'm getting video from a drone that's watching another drone fly into a target or something like that, and that's just a really, really small piece of the battlefield. One of the British intelligence service were estimating, I think, daily casualties for the Russians. They publish, the Defense Intelligence Service, Britain does publish stuff quite often, is about like 1,000 people a day. So, but how correct is that? And again, because we do know that we're reinforcing up here because of the push on the line. We're also going to look at Okay, that was somewhat painful. We've lost a few divisions, but not terrible. So it just all comes down into, and my sources, I do have direct sources into Ukraine. And I'm thinking of one particular person who he's definitely knowing more than he's saying to me, which is appropriate. I'm not at all insulted or saying that wrong what he's doing, but I'm sort of careful about the information. Yeah, I'm. How do I put this? I don't believe I'm being lied to, but I also don't believe I'm being told the full truth. Just because they know I'm a YouTuber and whatnot, and it'd be stupid to start blathering about stuff to me like, oh look, we did this today or whatnot. So 1,000 per day. That's yeah. Oh, let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to try to look it up now, but that's and that's sort of down from like 1,200 or 1,300 a day or something, if I remember reading correctly. And don't take these as gospel numbers. I'm just pulling this off the top of my head. Something I read in the last 24 hours. Coming out of, you can look up the Twitter account of for the United Kingdom, the Defense Intelligence Agency or whatever that they're publishing on their Twitter. That normally comes with an infographic with a blue background and text, and that's where I'm getting just to cite my source. And again, that's source. But we know the Western powers have an agenda. They're not a neutral observer or something. So they're whether they're willing to lie or not, I don't know. But they're definitely willing to not tell everything they know, if you know what I mean. Oh, and if they just mean for future, yeah. But like I say, um, not that I would mind a a war game of Ukraine versus Russia. In fact, I would like it. Um, I think it would be better coming from Armored Brigade, the people, what is it, Vetka Studios, who make Armored Brigade. Now, I know they focus on the Cold War, or forget the studios, but Flashpoint Southern Command. Um, and again, those are NATO going hot games. I think that type of war. Now, it isn't the whole war; it would be operational areas of the war. That if they can then model in drones, because are you still using a lot of Cold War, post Cold War equipment, both Cold War and post Cold War equipment? Hell, there even saw a video of a bunch of young women in Ukrainian service um, uh, pulling Maxim machine guns out of shipping crates, proper boxes for them, and setting them up as these Ukrainian women soldiers to be anti-drone and anti-aircraft, but more anti-drone machine gun setups. So they're using pre-World War One. Yeah, keep playing. I know. Uh, so yeah, we know that they're using both new and old technology, but just how much does that technology affect the battlefield? Okay, it's too far away. So we have to really understand better what the roles of equipment are there in the war. Okay, readiness 81, readiness 89, but 9 strength. Okay, well. Yeah, I think we'll move in and we'll just hold. Okay. Well, Arno, I don't know what I can or can't do right now. I'm sort of burnt out on Hoi 4. I know modern day mod would be different, but okay, now our tank has been successful at pushing forward here. And we can sort of see them pulling back along this line here, which is probably good for them. Okay. And they can entrench. I think straight south is the best. I don't know that. Okay, so now, although this is out here and quite vulnerable, I don't know if they're going to attack it. It depends on what's here. We can see some command HQs that means they're not going to be attacking here. There's probably not a bunch of infantry stacked here because it would probably be SR'd into here or SR'd up into here. So he may have a chance of survival, but we've created now another, straight line here. So even if we lose that, we got the tank anchoring this corner here. They're not going to be able to knock this tank out even if they really, really try. So that there, and then comes to here, and an interior corner here is better for us. This artillery piece, 6 shells now. Okay. Huh. Do I want to push here? Here? Okay, if we take out this French unit, we will relieve. We will come straight down here, and we'll push in flank on here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reconnaissance this. By bombing it, basically. Okay, Portuguese. It is a... Where were we? Here. Right. So Portuguese detachment here. That's just a detachment, not a division. But so if we were to come here and let's see what we got, 6 shells, so let's go for it. We can see their readiness going down 60, 57%. See it down over here, 54%. 52%. So we fired all those shells. Now we have fairly good odds. That's going to take all of our action points. So what we're going to do is we're going to move in the horse, the cavalry, and entrench. I mean, it would be lovely to like strike at one of these groups, but there's enough units that would take this out. So if we didn't entrench, they may still take us out. I'm not saying they won't or can't, but just what they keep rinse, repeat, and filling this gap here. So I really would have liked to kill that unit, but oh well. Yeah, I was thinking about moving the artillery piece down, but he can fire all three of those units there once he gets ready. So I think we will leave him where he is. Yeah, that's just not good at the spot. Deploys the fleet of a what we've got, Arno. We've got the bigger tank here, the what was going to be the replacement. So at least on icons, we've surpassed the A7V. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, we're already doing better. Okay, so we've got 8 shells. Oh shit! Did you guys hear that? I know it was thunder because I heard hearing some pre-thunder, but damn, that sounds like a gunshot. I don't know if the software that takes out the background noise let that through. So yeah, oh shit, wow, that was a bit scary. And that sounded very, very close. Thunder, very close. If you guys don't know, I'm currently staying up at my secret mountain base, so we're having a lot of weather here. Okay, so we are going to concentrate our forces on that unit there. This recon bomber. This is heavy bombers, ground attack. Okay, so let's fly you in here. We have some interceptors around. No, interceptors from way down here. Not the two that are up here. Or escorts, I mean. Okay, so now they've reconnaissanced and dropped a few bombs. We're going to come in with our ground attack bombers. More interceptors. More escorts. Maybe, Arno. Maybe. Okay, that actually knocked them down by 1. Now we're going to use our big, heavy Bavarian railway gun, which does a little bit of good. And then we're going to, we've got 8 shells here. Yes, the D7s, that's right, Arno. We're down at 47%. Okay, we're at 9 shells for this unit. Let's fire a few. 46 or 45. Okay, we're going to attack here. Even though this wasn't our best attack performance, I didn't want to weaken these other forces too much. I felt I could weaken this more effectively. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it here and attack. Instead of entrench, because, and only reason I did this, and I know we're all the way down at strength 6. I'm not seeing the force to do a lot of counterattacking. Are they going to move this guy to here to counterattack? And yeah, maybe if these two could knock him out, there's maybe another unit here, but we will see. And if so, then yeah, we've lost a unit. But if not, we're doing pretty good there at pushing forward. Yes, that darn Anthony Falker knew how to build great fighters. Yes, he did. Okay, so let's come down here. This is sort of a auxiliary push. This is the main one in this area here. So, okay, let's see what's underneath these. So it's the road we need to push on. But we can sort of take that unit out, I think. Well, let's be smart about it. Oh. Oh, they're still here. Damn. Okay. We're going to hold off on occupying that just yet. Okay, hearing a bit more thunder, but it's a bit further away. Well, we have this division here that came in and pushed in. So now we'll use ground attack. Okay, I don't know if you played this game, Paul, but Verdun here is a secondary supply. So I can never cut the supply off entirely. What I can do is if it gets cut off from the rail link, which it only currently has this one rail link here, it can no longer deploy new or rebuilt units, and it can no longer strategically redeploy units from other parts of the map. They can get close and then try to walk in through the forest until I cut that off 100%. So it won't die entirely because of supply, and I think, always notice my language, I think it'll have a certain levels of supply to replace losses within a division. But once I take out a unit that can be rebuilt, it's not like permanently out of the game, but it's going to be rebuilt at some other location. So I can slowly grind it down. Where right now, if I were to kill one of these units, like I'm trying to kill this unit here, it can just be replaced with another, replaced with another, replaced with another. So I just sort of want to deal with this unit here. That here, we're going to shift forces. And only have 3 action points because of supply issues. So what we're going to do here is move up, and because I think you get pounded otherwise, rotate. That's it. Yeah, that's good. So now we've pushed him back, and we've weakened them in their pocket. And again, I sort of want them to have a pocket here, not just minimum fortress, because I want to take it down here is my goal. Not just threatening supply, but actually taking it out. Now, okay, these guys fired up to there, so they don't have any shells left. These guys have 3 shells. I'm going to over-reinforce them, because I normally don't do that for a lot of these units because it's sort of expensive, but artillery that normally doesn't get direct attacked on can sit there and use that extra pounding power without loss. Right. Okay. And the reason I just did all that was so that I can kill that unit and then entrench here. And we're going to move up and entrench here. These guys, yeah. Anybody here hasn't done anything we can reinforce. I was thinking of forcing the AI to weaken forces in the east. Don't kill occupied roads to the west with other units. Text where it says Aragon, your air econ said is open. Yeah, if you're thinking up here, yeah. Well, yes, we know that the Aragon forest here is sort of open here. But we've already cut the line, and that's good enough. And I would rather have solid lines here. And we are having some supply issues. We can see 4 and 5, and it's going to stay that way if this is what you're talking about here, because our supply route comes through here. So going this way, we get weaker supply. We need to secure and push down here to secure our supply better. So, yes, we need to keep doing this. This is just way down here, just sort of the stalemate front. We may, as more of the detachments come online, we can get another division. Oh, cool. As more, because we have a bunch of detachments at some point coming here. You can see some of them in here. We may replace some of these divisions that a detachment holding, especially like here, this is sort of a wasted 11 strength division here, because they can, it's only going to get 2, max maybe 3 divisions attacking it, so it can probably hold out. Now at a spear point here, that would be a bad place for one. So a few of these might get swapped out for detachments. Leave enough to make sure that they can't just push through us. And here, I'm not really trying to advance. I am advancing a bit, but what I'm just trying to do is just grind their forces down for, minimal cost. Now, here I am trying to push a bit along the coast to keep the British occupied so that they are not, used to would allow you to move command closer to the front, increasing supply. Yeah, we've got reasonably good command along here, as close to the front. I think here we are just facing a traffic jam. That's one thing I don't like about this game, is the inability to stack units. I totally agree with the idea of you don't want to stack these divisions because that's too much. But the idea that I can't move, an HQ with all of its onto like an artillery piece, or put an aircraft unit on top of it. Yeah, I know you have stacking graphics and which one you're clicking on and work through. But some of these sort of support units, yeah. And so, do I move him up? How far up do I move him? And yeah, we probably do need somebody down here. Let's move you to here, and we'll get him down here. We probably could do better supply down here. I wish I could build more HQs, but I can't at the moment. So this is not. I'm not saying this is optimal. Maybe we should move him here. But yeah, it's fairly good, I think. Hello, Elizabeth. It's been a while. I mean, a few hours. See, we're over on the Discord server. Again, everybody else, remember, check out the Discord server. There should be links around on the different channels. Lots of interesting things go on over there. So yeah, so this is a distraction. I just again want to push on it gently and just keep them occupied. And I do fear tank. Okay, I think we purchased what we're going to purchase for. Oh, if we could do some more detachments, we got over 900 points. Don't want to use up all the points, but a little bit would be good. Okay, so I think we are pretty good. We've done where we can push. We've re-straightened out the front line. There are some weak spots, but I think we're okay. That's a particularly weak spot. We'll see if it survives. Germans, Paris, gun bombards French capital from near Lone. Germans developed anti-aircraft level defense 1. Oh, they moved back into here again. Wow. Will the AI never learn? No, it won't. Well, they saved up a lot of shells and they're expending them on some targets. That could be a division they take out if they really work at that one. If there's enough forces around here, they could attack it. I see at least for sure with 5, maybe 6, maybe even 7 divisions. Well, are they going to move in? Ooh, the tank. I fear the tanks. Wow, that didn't do anything. I mean, I think it lowered their readiness and morale, etc., but they didn't actually knock out strength. Another gunshot like thunder outside. That's good, Elizabeth. You know, with that attack, they didn't eliminate the division. I mean, they've incredibly weakened it for sure, but yeah. Oh, hey, Elizabeth, tanks are as much as a fear weapon as anything they do from firing any of their guns or whatnot. Just being out on that battlefield with tanks, being an infantryman out on that battlefield with tanks moving around. I haven't experienced it in person, but that's got to be a terrifying thing. Big heavy machines that can crush you, or possibly shoot you. I mean, you're just a guy. Now, if you're like in, I don't know, Beirut or something, and you've got nice buildings to sort of hide in and pop out and shoot them with an RPG-7, yeah, that's maybe not that scary. Or, I mean, not that it's not scary at all, but not overwhelmingly scary. Or, you can, we could maybe use some extra forces down here. Throw a Molotov cocktail out a window on top of a tank or whatnot. So yeah, and if you get super rough ground, maybe dense forest or heavily rocky hills or other sorts of things where the tanks can't actually go. Sure, they can shoot up in at you there, but if you can sort of maneuver around there and the tanks have to push through, say like in certain areas of Afghanistan or something, yeah, infantry can go, man, I can just take this guy out if I just get in the right position with an RPG-7. But if you're talking rolling hills and fields of grain, yeah, you can lay down in that and plan on popping up and shooting an RPG-7 or something, but still you got all these massive tanks coming around. That's got to be terrifying. And so yeah, it's a psychological weapon as much as anything else. Hello, Holiday Punch. Victory will be yours, not just gotta let the German population starve a bit more. Well, I'm playing as the Germans. Always think of Jurassic Park drink shaking when I think of infantry versus tank. Absolutely. Again, I've not experienced it, but another ground shaking thing that I've read descriptions of is like 18th century and Napoleonic, and presumably on back past that, of horse, cavalry charging around the battlefield, that it's just shaking the ground. And that's got to be Allied blockade starving the population. Oh, absolutely it is. So where do I want to place this division? I don't know that I need more here. Here we're having a bit of a traffic jam. Yeah, I guess sort of kind of here. I do want to place them, well, I guess here. Maybe not. It doesn't have to be on a rail line. Okay. Now, pull out a little bit. Here we go. I am trying to push along the coast here, just that I'm trying to push the flank. I don't want to, just rush in and to get units taken out. So I'm going slow. But I'm also sort of pushing, if you notice my other tank and some artillery here, I'm pushing here. So if I can push down here towards here, and you got these rail lines and supply are everything in this game. So if I can push here, then I create a pocket for the English up here. So that is part of what I'm doing here. Now, they did take out the one unit there, and we will fill the gap in one manner or another. Well, we'll see about this. Should be entrenched. Maybe I somehow forgot to entrench something or pushed in. But I want to push with the tank. I want to push slightly north to get this position here. We've survived down here. We're going to see about taking out that. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just leave that. Here, they survived all the attacks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to swap these two out so that we have a fresh unit with a 96% readiness versus this 50%, which I'm going to fully reinforce and then look at it. Okay, it's 63, but so this is still higher readiness. We may upgrade this because it could be upgraded. Is this a hard game? To me, no. I mean, if you're talking to learn and play, no. To me, no. A strategic command, I would go as a medium level game on learning it. Now, is it hard as in achieving victory? Yeah, a bit. Because they're within the excuse me, within the game's parameters, it's fairly realistic in that it's the Germans. The Ludendorff Offensive fails. I have played this through before. I'm not going to spoil it. If you want to look and see, you can jump to the end of the series and see if I did actually take Paris. But I will say it was close one way or another. It wasn't that. So I did a little better than the Germans did. Is this like a World War I base game? Yeah, this is World War I. This is specifically the Ludendorff Offensive Strategic Command World War I. The base game, well, this is, I don't know if this is a free DLC or one of the paid DLCs for the game. I just don't keep track. But there are both free and paid DLCs. The base game is, because here's the map down here, and this is just, France, is the whole World War I game, and is played at a sort of a higher level. So I like this. I like this scale better for this mechanics of a game. To me, this shines great. I really think this is greatness. So what we're also going to do here is swap this out here, which will allow us to reinforce a somewhat shell-shocked unit. And we're gonna, the British last turn really pushed on us hard, but we mostly, I mean, in a few places maybe not, did well. Dawn of Dark War Crusade. Don't know that 40K game. I mostly play the Slytherin games just because I get them for free. And I really love the Battle Sector game. Some of the other ones are good, but I really love Battle Sector. Okay. Now, see, again, here we have readiness 56%, readiness 111%. So we're going to, oh, this is just a detachment, isn't it? No, this is a reserve division. Okay, yeah, no, there's 2 dots there. It's a little hard to see with the range flashes above it. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to reinforce there. So if they pound here again, it won't be on a poorly equipped division. Okay, and they have 4 points. So these guys are going to come down and entrench. Maybe they weren't entrenched before. These guys are going to come in and entrench along this line here. They get 1 shell per turn, so might as well just shoot it. Otherwise, we can store. Oh well, here let's upgrade this to the anti-aircraft defense. I think I would rather supersize it. Warhammer use it. Well, it's a universe, but well, it's a galactic-based thing. So yeah, it's pretty big. There's lots of lore and games around it. I've only scratched the surface at best of everything within 40K. So I am not an expert in any of the 40K stuff. So I'm pretty good with Battle Sector playing the game. Okay, so that's beyond the range of that. Ooh. It's just such a tempting target. We'll swap these out to get a better readiness holding that front line. We're going to move you down here. So I do want to push up here, but I wanted to be able to hit that with artillery before the tank and other attacks. Well, okay. It's not a law that was, in my understanding, I could get some of the details wrong. This Minnesota, what it was a court ruling by the state Supreme Court that basically gutted the ability to defend yourself. Some states, like New Jersey, already basically. New Jersey, if someone breaks in your home and you can reasonably expect to be able to jump out your window you should do so instead of defend yourself in your home. If you're sort of trapped in the state of New Jersey, like in your home, you can defend yourself. But if you can get out a door, if you can get out, even if there's your baby in another room, no, you can't. No, you've got to run away from the criminal in New Jersey. And so if somebody's breaking into your home and then you do too much damage to that criminal, you're in trouble. And it's a bigger crime to hurt somebody than it is to burglarize a house. So although maybe the burglar would get in New Jersey criminal punishment for burglarizing your house if they're caught, presumably, but if you've assaulted them or maybe obviously if you killed them, you've now maybe committed, well, maybe not murder because it wasn't planned to go, but manslaughter. So you're actually more of a criminal for defending yourself in your home in the state of New Jersey than the person breaking into your home. Sort of like in England. In England, they expect you to run away too. Yeah, Minnesota. That like a lot of states. Well, no, some states, the judges are elected, particularly the Supreme Court of the state. California, I know their judges are appointed by the governor, not elected. But obviously, how left wing the governor is to who they appoint at the state level. So yeah, it's now a matter of you better run away from somebody if you're in New Jersey. Now, of course, if you are in, I believe both Texas and Florida, you can use deadly force to protect yours or somebody else's property. So if you see somebody breaking into a car, you can shoot them. Now, you better hope it wasn't their car that they just lost their keys of, decided to break the window to get, keep a puppy from getting, overheated in the car or something and they lost their keys. You better hope you didn't shoot the wrong person. But you can not just defend yourself. And it doesn't have to be your own. You can defend somebody else's car. It doesn't have to be like in your driveway. It can be like at a store or parking lot. So some states you can use deadly force to defend property as well as human life. Other states, like California, is you can defend yourself. You don't have to run away. You don't have a duty to flee in the state of California, but it's only to defend your life or somebody else's life, but not property. So if somebody steals a bicycle, you can't shoot them to stop them from stealing the bicycle in California. In other states, in some states you can't. It varies from state to state. And so, it did sort of make the news, and it might seem significant, but it varies so much from state to state. You just have to know this. You have to know the laws of your state, and tourists obviously should avoid dangerous situations, but people should know. So it's absurd to punish one for defending oneself. Well, the way they look at it is you can use appropriate defense. So if somebody comes into your home and you can't flee, like if you're laying in bed and you wake up and there's somebody standing in your bedroom and you've got a gun, well, hey, if they're just standing there, you don't get to shoot them because, hey, they're just standing there. They might have thought they could sneak around and not wake you up. Now, if they have a gun in their hand and they look like they might be pointing it at you and you're lying in bed because in that situation you're surprised and you can reach over and pick up a gun, you can shoot them. In just about any state in the union, I don't know every law in every state, but you can shoot them because now you fear for your life because they have a gun, they're threatening you, you're cornered in your bedroom. But if you're hearing somebody bash in your front door and you can easily get out your back door, and this is like in the state of New Jersey, you're expected to flee the house. So if you have a reasonable chance of fleeing the situation, and again, I don't know the details of the Minnesota case, but from what some of the quick overview that I saw was you have to flee if you can. So you can, unlike Britain, I think in most places in America, you can use deadly force, kill somebody to defend yourself. So long as you truly feel your life is threatened and you had no practical ability to flee the situation. So again, like if you're surprised and you can't get out, but if you could get out. So I think that's in every state in the union. You can use deadly force to defend yourself if you don't, or the jury or the district attorney doesn't look at it and go, yeah, could you have gotten out? If they go, yeah, no, okay, then you're fine. But if you can get out, yeah, you should get out and run away. So that is that kind of thing. So it's easy to make views like that from their gated compound neighborhoods. Absolutely. In Brazil, if you kill a criminal, even being in self-defense, you go to jail for murder. How interesting. I didn't know that, Felipe. Yeah. And so, and in Britain is the same way. Britain, you shouldn't ever be killing anybody in Britain, even to defend yourself. And again, it's sort of like, in some states, it needs to be appropriate defense. So if somebody's coming at you with, your fists, you're only supposed to use your fists to defend yourself. You're not supposed to pull the knife out and gut him. Well, I don't want to be assaulted. And so this is always colored. Now, I am in the process of moving out of California and moving to my secret mountain base. But in California, I can use deadly force to defend myself, so long as I can demonstrate at one stage or another, or finally in the court, that I feared for my life. I don't have to run away. There is no duty to run away in California. So I was always fearful of that. But now, because of the BLM and other stuff, I am more afraid to defend myself, because even though I may or may not, depending on the jury, successfully defend myself in court, where 10 years ago, if I was, like at a gas station, somebody pulls a knife and then I pull a gun or whatever and shoot the person, I was pretty safe from being prosecuted, because they weren't out there just trying to go after people, just to go after them. Like let's say if I didn't have a permit to carry, oh well, this was clearly a self-defense thing. It's on video camera. It's self-defense. They might charge me for possession of a firearm or something not lawfully, but that wouldn't necessarily be any jail time. For first offense. But now it's much more. So it depends on where you were in California, to the point. If you're in Orange County or something, you would be fine. In LA County, you wouldn't. So, yeah, it's part of what's driving me out of California. Part of it is economics. I'll be quite readily admit it costs a lot more to live in California than it does Arizona. But it's more than that. So, let's see. I think the right to defend your own life by any means necessary is fine, but running away makes a lot of sense too in those situations. But hello, what is that? Eton? Yeah, yeah, I I understand you don't want to kill criminals, but I'm for it. In the act of that. Um, yeah, somebody running away with a bike. Why shouldn't I put a bullet in their back? Why would I run away and let someone pillage my home? They'll find out that they made the wrong decision, and thank God Lithuania has good defensive laws. Yes, I don't think I would think the law about that in life or death situation. I don't think. Yeah, people. And I do talk politics. I think the left, the establishment, whatever you want to call it, wants to make people, they pushed our unit out here, wants to make people afraid, and wants to make people dependent upon the state for protection, so that they are pushing laws, or they're prosecuting people that shouldn't be prosecuted, just because they can. I think it is a strategy to make people dependent. Okay, we see that that is open. That we can get there in 3. We have 4 action points. That means we can come up here and entrench. 50 entrenchments. So now we've re-straightened this line back out. We'll actually upgrade this. No, it's the anti-aircraft. I don't care that much about anti-aircraft. I mean, I'm sure it'll be nice, an improvement, but be better. The street violence and fear and all of that with the Germany in the Weimar period leading up to the National Socialist takeover is a deep, deep topic. I'm not going to delve into it right now. There was definitely the threats of force as a major thing. 92, 93. Let's shift. And then can we still upgrade? We can still upgrade. Or reinforce. I won't fully take them out, but we're not letting them entrench unless they're going to come in and entrench very weakly. Right, okay, these guys survived. Are they entrenched? No. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to swap these out. These guys are going to come in and entrench. At least rotate the entrenchment around. I think that's what we want. Yeah. And then these guys will then reinforce. All right. So we've got down here. I don't really need to move any further east. I do want to push more to the west here. Okay. 7 rounds, 6 rounds. We could then this will be anti-air upgrade. Okay. We're going to come up and isolate this unit here. So let's come in and entrench. That. I think we might just leave that one open. Bring up the artillery, bring him a little closer. Okay. So now they'll be able to fire from there, and they'll be able to fire from here once we decide to start our barrage and attack on this unit. And we'll probably be able to take that. And so we've already cut the rail link, the northern rail link here. But this is our main supply link. We'll get that more secure and be able to push down from there. So we're doing that. Very good. Are the yellow thingies supply hubs? Well, I think to me these are lime green here. Yeah, these are towns. They do, and you see they're both give MPP as well as sort of supply. The best way to see the supply is to come in here, and this is what next turn would look like if we moved in through here. So HQs affect supplies, and your towns are, because these are sort of railway centers, supply hubs, and the bigger the number, the more, I understand it, supply flows through there. So we want to push down here. You don't want to be down in 1s, 2s, and 3s. You would want to be more like at 10s and 8s and whatnot, if you can get that kind of level of supply. So yeah, down here we're doing excellent. could do that. Okay, that's the division we're focusing on right at the moment. 5 rounds, 2 rounds. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Forgot to. Let's do it now. Should have done the reconnaissance first. It would have helped with the artillery. Bad generalship here. They didn't plan out the orders right. Like real life, it happens. Okay, see that kicked their butt now. Now just ground attack bombers. Yeah, that radically lowered their capability here. Okay, they won't be able to entrench with these guys. Nope. Okay, so that tank is keeping me from really pushing up there. I think I could face it like we have somewhat successfully with entrenched forces, but without that entrenchment, I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't want to overextend myself here. So it's bad to go into the green open tiles. There's open space between south, but maybe, yes. Down here, again, we can hit the supply S button twice, 5. And so, yeah, see, here, if nothing changes, meaning if I just race one of these divisions and stick it down here, I'll be out of supply from my side. Where here, I'll just have sort of minimum supply, not probably be able to reinforce. Back here, may be able to at a low level reinforce, like take a 3 unit up to a 4 or something. Now you're getting back into here, we can see about fully reinforcing our units. So you can see there's 2 lines, and it's actually meant to be both a road and a railroad. Some places you may find that there's just a road and not a railroad. So that all affects what you're doing here. So yeah, that's why this is left open. The AI has determined to try to hold the line here would be bad on supply, so they're holding here and they're holding here. And I pushed out rather far. Okay, this might be a good idea. 4 points, yeah. And then entrench. I'm very much with this game, move up and entrench, move up and entrench. Here, I mean, it's not so much that it's necessary to do this. It's more just flowing forces forward, getting them up here. And so from here, I can still strike at this position. I can also strike here and through here. So if they come in and reinforce, we're here. So I want to move up. But I want to watch my flanks here. So these lines are critical. As far as I'm concerned, and maybe I'm missing something in Europe, but and I do sort of know about the Crimea War and whatnot, but the first industrial war that all that really matters, industrially, is the American Civil War. And to sustain any effort, I'm trying to think about this, you basically need to have industrial levels of supply. And the reason I'm sort of saying that is, one, of course, railroads will do it. Two, major navigable rivers with lots of riverboats. Or three, what the Union eventually becomes, the ability to, with naval power and shipping, be able to, send huge amounts of supplies down to like New Orleans when they captured the city down there. Now they eventually pushed down from the north and cut the whole Mississippi off, but that takes a while. So all the major offensive, sustained operations, and we can look at an example of like Sherman's march to the sea. No, he does not have it, but he breaks his line of supply. But he's also pushing in against not that much resistance, not for the size of his army. The Confederacy does not have an army that it can maneuver in front of it to fight it. And you can look at like the Gettysburg operation. Why does Gettysburg happen? There's rumors of Jews. I don't know if it was in Gettysburg or some other nearby town. So the Confederates are low on supplies of anything. So they're rushing over to try to get to a shoe factory to steal all the shoes. And the whole Gettysburg campaign is meant to be a short-term offensive to push the Union off balance. It wasn't meant to be a sustained, persistent, at least as far as I understand, move into the north to hold a lot of territory. It was just, we're maneuvering our army around, we're going to disrupt the north, we're going to try to make the north react to us, and then have one good battle and hopefully win it. It's not like, oh, we're going to have that battle then sort of break apart and then resupply. No, they don't have the supply, the sustained offensive ability. So railways and the ability to move in lots and lots of ammunition and food and all of that stuff for the concentration of forces. It's really the American Civil War is the first, and it's early on, yes, in the whole process, and maybe the Franco-Prussian War, and we can look at some of the others, but that's a little bit later. I think what is it, the 1870s, the Franco-Prussian War, a little bit after the American Civil War. So that's sort of what I'm thinking, where the Crimea is, what, the 1850s, a little before. And there's definitely supply and logistics there, like there's always been, the supply and logistics for the Norman conquest of Britain. But it's really, for that, it's more, guys on horse swinging swords more than how many arrows they can manufacture in Normandy and send across to William the Conqueror. That is maybe an aspect, but not a primary aspect of that campaign. And so here with World War I, yes, you can look at Lawrence and his desert operations, but that's almost in essence a guerrilla operation. I'm blanking on the name of the British commander who moves out of Egypt. Well, yeah, he's coming across the Sinai, but the British have enough command of the sea to resupply, and he's tied to either the seacoast, major roads, or the railways to move his forces up into Jerusalem when he finally takes Jerusalem. So that there still is very much an industrial war. Yeah, the American Civil War was the end of the era of warfare and the start of a new one. Yes, very much. Sherman also marches to the sea during the time of crops were ready to be harvested. Oh, yeah. So you're right, Paul. He is definitely getting and destroying food. And so he's supplying his forces from food, but he is not, to my knowledge, again, I've read a bunch of books on the Civil War, but any one of you may know more about a particular campaign than I do. But he's not, at least at scale, like supplying ammunition or capturing ammunition. I'm not saying they don't, get some cartridges out of some Confederate cartridge box, but at a scale they're not supplying that. He's breaking away from it, and he knows that if he gets to the sea, he gets supply again. So it's like breaking off supply, from replacement muskets or more ammunition. Now, and you're right, very much he's living off the land. It's like a horde of locusts that they're just stripping the land bare, partially to destroy it, to keep it from the Confederacy, but also to for food supply themselves, most assuredly. So that's sort of what I'm saying is, had the Confederacy been able to move a big army to oppose Sherman, have a battle, and then require a second battle, I don't know that Sherman has enough artillery shells for a second battle from what they're bringing down, or musket rounds for a second battle. That's sort of what I'm talking about, is that I believe, again, I'm not an expert on that campaign, he very well could have fought a big battle, and if he's victorious and then, blows the enemy out of the path, he continues his march to the sea. But mostly he's fighting, garrison type forces there, or smaller forces that are brought into his path. But it's very much a situation in which it's untethered briefly from supply, and knowing that he can get supply on the other end sustains it. And that's, to my knowledge, the only big campaign that was sort of meant to be, sustained, if you will, once it's over, meaning he was going to get to the sea and hold out there. Where Lee's maneuvers in the Gettysburg was just maneuvers around the enemy to try to it's a political move into the Union's territory, forcing the Union to move out of its good positions to react to it, and he's hoping that he's going to be able to win. But Lee is a great commander, but he's not a harsh commander. So when you have somebody that's sort of independent, like Stuart, Jeb Stuart, he takes the cavalry off on its own, it's round the Union Army again, because he's done that before very successfully, but leaves Lee with no good reconnaissance to make good decisions. So sometimes his subordinates, that are often very excellent, he doesn't rein them in as well as he probably should. And there's various reasons for that, including just Lee's personality, I bet. So Lee does not. Lee gets a battle that's an encounter operation that is slowly building up over time, as opposed to a tactically understood where to defend, where to attack. So, and he's trying to envelop the Union Army, obviously, and the Union Army is just too big to be enveloped by his forces, and so he loses Gettysburg. But either had Stuart left enough cavalry to reconnaissance and realize what was happening early on in the Battle of Gettysburg, Lee might have been able to make better decisions at that point. Or if Stuart was there with his cavalry, he might very well have been able to cut off the flow of Union forces into the battle. If you could just, because it's a multi-day battle, but at partway through, the Union forces coming in, after Buford, the Union cavalry commander that sort of starts it on the Union side, some point after that is going on, if the cavalry could hit up and delay in reinforcements coming in, Lee might have been able to coordinate his army to crush, let's just say a good third of the Union army effectively without heavy casualties on his side. And you don't necessarily have to, Stuart doesn't have to do a head-on charge right into the main Union flow of forces in and get shot up. He can just skirmish with them enough, forcing them to get into battle formations instead of keep moving into Gettysburg. And you very well could have had a battle that could have devastated the Union army in Union territory, which could be a very political event from the side of fighting out that war. Probably wouldn't at that point. Early on, we can see it like First Manassas had, and Lee was not involved in First Manassas. It was what Beauregard. Had he been able to push into Washington D.C., you might have been able to end the Civil War right then and there, not with a conquest of the North, but just a political settlement that allows the South to go off. Okay. Also, and I'm seeing a few names like Etdon here, who's new. Remember to subscribe or follow if you're new around on either the YouTube or Twitch channels, or even over on Rumble. Napoleon also got supply issues in the Russian campaign, which led, yes, very much so. But if you look at still that era of war, yeah, that's sort of a particular situation. And you can also see very large armies that are generally, say, French armies in Spain and Portugal having supply issues as well. But you can also see undersupplied armies of Napoleon using very little ammunition and entirely living off the land, but using the bayonet very effectively, almost, I'm not saying like exclusively, but, a few volleys and then bayonet attacks, winning in the Italian campaign, early on, during the Revolutionary War period. And so you can see the idea of, again, it's not, supply issues are always there, food. But I don't know that Napoleon was having trouble for ammunition. I don't know that he was, because he had fought the Borodino outside of Moscow and then pushes in. I don't know that ammunition is a problem. It's food that's a problem, and that's always a problem at any army at any time. I'm talking industrial war, which does, yes, have a scale that you need a lot of supplies here, here to feed all these troops and not just food somewhere. You got to do that. But also the industrial scale, which this is reasonably well showing us how many artillery, these shells they're calling them, but it's, artillery barrages. How much ammunition do you have stored up for these guns to fire? And you need railway link going back to factories, back wherever that are making them, which you don't really have in 18th century warfare. It is a factor, but it is not at the scale. So that's what I'm talking about with industrial. The American Civil War is something I've always wanted to learn more about, but there's a lot of stigma wanting to learn about it for some reason. Yeah, well, it's become politicized in the modern sense around it. I mean, yeah, war is a political act, but it's being used as a hammer right now in the West, not just in America, but other places. Correct. Paul says correct. They also rearmed from city armories as they took them. Yes, smaller forces. That was one of the reasons he marched so quickly. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, Sherman. Yeah. That kind of Elizabeth, go for it. I may recommend Shelby Foote's. Oh, that's very good. I've watched the documentary series based off Shelby Foote's work, and I've read parts of his 3 books. I have the 3 books on my shelf at home, but I have not fully read those. But they're very good, and they're well written as a narrative flow. That is one of the things about them. I can say they're not the most detailed in overall facts. Not that there aren't detailed facts, but it's sort of a narrative flow of telling the war, and he does really well to do that. So it's very good, and it would be a good deep introduction, as opposed to just there's some other books I don't have, since they're not here. I can't pull them off the shelf and recommend them. Again, I'm at my secret mountain base. There are some single books that could give just nice overviews to sort of get you into the, if I'm, mentioning a few campaigns here or there, you'd have quick reference for. So I wouldn't recommend Shelby Foote's as the start, but there are a few good overview books that are thinner, but will give you the big picture. That then I would recommend Shelby Foote's as, after at least read 2 books that are more overview books first, and then get into Shelby Foote is what I would say doing it. Tell me not to look into something. It just makes me want. Yeah, it's America is heading into civil conflict right now, or we are already in it with an assassination attempt on a former and likely future president. We see various other violent acts going on, and then maybe non-violent, but aggressive protesting and other stuff that, whether you want to count that as violence or whatnot, is somewhat up to definition. Some people on the left say words are violence, but so just how. Okay, what is Chaplain Football saying? Beware that Shelby Foote was a journalist, not a historian. Who, in general, he is sympathetic to Southern point of view. Yes, and I very much think the South is being demonized. The South is being judged by modern standards as opposed to the standards of the time. So, and partially I think because there's not a racial component to it, but there was lots of slavery in the Roman Empire. I don't judge Caesar or Augustus, his nephew, or any of those other characters bad because they had slaves. It's just because that's what the world was then. So I don't negatively judge them. Now, we are definitely, by the time of the American Civil War, seeing the moral realization that slaves are morally bad. Whether they're practically good or bad is another question, but they're morally bad. But still, most of the Southerners grew up in a world that just slavery was part of it. So I have a certain sympathy. I'm not saying that they were right in defending slavery. I think they were right in defending their state's right. Now, what right were they defending? To have slaves, yes. So slavery is definitely an issue. But they're using it as a cudgel in the modern sense. And these modern people, if they even knew about it, I don't know what modern people would do about Sparta if they learned about it. In which basically gay sex is compulsory for Spartans. If they knew that Spartans were gay, would they like them, or would they still hate them because they were a totalitarian, authoritarian, hierarchical society, or would they love them because they were in essence communistical because they banned money in Sparta and everything was sort of state-owned? So I don't know what modern people, if they truly knew what Sparta was, and not the sort of comic book of the 300 or whatever, but really knew the Spartan culture and Spartan idea, whether the modern people would love them or hate them. So, yeah, if you remember to feel free to put in books in the Discord when you can get what they're called. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, when I get back to California, I'll try to remember, but Elizabeth, you can poke me when you know I'm back in California. I'm sure it'll be announced, or you'll find out on the Discord or something when I'm no longer, streaming from my secret mountain base. Then I can definitely pull some stuff off the shelf and give you some suggestions. Because I probably only have 20 books or so on the Civil War, but a few of them would be good starting points. And so, yeah, it's and Chaplain for Bacchus is warning about Shelby Foote. Yeah, I think most of the facts, again, I have not fully read it and verified all the facts, but I think most of the facts are pretty solid in Shelby Foote's work. It's more of a narrative version, and I don't think there's anything wrong with giving, just to throw out a few facts. The only non-white general in the American Civil War, at least that I know of, was a Confederate general, and he was Indian. and not like just a little bit partial Indian. He was a full Indian, Stan Watty. So the only general that wasn't white on either side was a Confederate. To my knowledge, again, the only black officers in the American Civil War were Confederate. There was a battalion or regiment or whatever you want to call it down in Louisiana that was made up of blacks that were free blacks, and many of them owned slaves. In Louisiana, in South Carolina, or was it Georgia? No, I think it was South Carolina, but maybe Georgia, or maybe both. You could not be a free black person and live in that state. You could visit very briefly, but after that you had to leave. So free black, I think it was South Carolina, but maybe it's Georgia. Correct me if anybody knows. So if you were a free black, you had to leave. So the only blacks were slaves. But in Louisiana, you could be black and free, and there were big plantation owners that were black, that owned black slaves. So black people owned other black people in Louisiana. Each state had its own slavery laws. So that there was basically a state militia unit, sort of all the early Confederate units were that were raised. One of them was raised in Louisiana that had black officers, that had black men in it. And yes, it was racially segregated. And this unit was there to defend Louisiana. Now, once the Union takes over, that unit switched sides, but all of the black officers are dismissed as officers, as far as I know. And again, I could have some of the details wrong. And white officers are put in charge of the unit. So the North is very racist, but they're not pro-slavery, mostly. So we could look at some of the details there. So you have a lot of that going on. And when you have the Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, there are states that don't go for the South, like Maryland, who still have slaves. So the Emancipation Proclamation frees slaves in territories in rebellion, not territories that weren't in rebellion. So places like Kentucky and Maryland, which are both slave states, they kept the slaves. It wasn't until whatever the amendment that removed slavery do those states finally have to stop having slavery. So that there are slave states in the North that continue to have slavery throughout the American Civil War until the Constitution is changed. So there is a lot of detail that, the North was against slavery. There's slave states with slave owners fighting in northern, wearing blue uniforms, fighting the Confederates. Go figure. So it isn't quite the black and white issue that modern people want to make the Civil War out to be. And when you realize that only about 5% of the people in the South own slaves, and even most of those slaves are owned by even a fewer percent, because yes, there were well-documented single-family farms that then owned, in essence, a family of black slaves that also worked that farm, or that there was some sort of small factory or small enterprise that they may own a few black slaves. But most of the slaves were owned by big agricultural concerns, plantations. And so most Southerners were not fighting to have slaves. They were fighting because their homes were being invaded. Their home states were being invaded. And so if you look at that, yes, what the states' rights was slavery, but most Southerners weren't fighting, in my opinion, to own slaves. I don't think most Southerners thought, someday, doggone it, I'm going to become rich and I'll get to buy all kinds of slaves. I don't think that was the case. Again, I wasn't there then, but from everything that I'm doing, looking at and researching, it wasn't quite this sort of, so Elizabeth saying they could very well push the issue, expecting them to give up states' rights because of it. The manipulation happens a lot today. Either way, I'll go into it open-minded with nothing. Yeah, well, back in about the 1850s in the Americans, and I really don't know a lot of detail, but some of the northern states were thinking about seceding. So, yeah, it wasn't just a southern thing. And Chaplain for Baca says abolitionists weren't necessarily for racial equality. Some believed that slavery should be abolished and the free slaves sent back to Africa. The country of Liberia. Oh, yes, Liberia was a racially segregated country, and it's sort of changed now, but was run by African Americans that were suppressing Africans and it was a protectorate of the United States. That's why it wasn't that. That was why Liberia and Ethiopia were the only two places not colonized by Europeans, well, at least until Mussolini takes Ethiopia. But yes, American Colonization Society wanted former slaves to return to Africa. Yes, it's a complicated issue. And a lot, people used to use the term race different, because you can see somebody like Churchill writing about the French race. And they weren't necessary and Churchill knew a lot of, I'm sure he knew a lot of Huguenot types, French Protestants and their descendants in Britain that had been basically fully integrated into British society, meaning they're in essence British, no longer French. So he knows that it isn't necessarily what makes Frenchmen different than Englishmen. And obviously he writes the history of the English-speaking people, which includes Normans and other things. So he knows these things, but he uses the term French race, which is used differently than meaning necessarily French genetics, and talks about things like that. So people often use the term race back in the past differently, but people often also took uneducated people for being dumb. Well, they are in the sense that they don't know as much as an educated person, but it's not necessarily an intelligence situation. And slaves often played dumb to their advantage. So a lot of Southerners thought that these Africans were lesser people. And so they thought that it's sort of like children. And they looked at Africa and see how primitive Africa was, and they believed that without control, slavery or other forms of control, the African would just be like the African in Africa, when in reality we see that it's a lack of education, a lack of knowledge, it's a different culture. It's the things that I talk about, difference in people, not genetics. They did not necessarily separate culture and genetics in their mind, the peoples back then. So a lot of the Southerners growing up in and around slavery think that if you treat these slaves right, you're actually doing them a favor. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that was their opinion. And that, yeah, there were evil slave masters that brutalized the slaves, but most of them weren't that way. They thought, again, they're wrong, but they thought that they were sort of doing them a favor by taking care of them, but the price of taking care of them was to do labor for them. So it wasn't just a free ride. It's like, well, hey, you've got to work out here, but hey, we'll take care of it. We'll make sure you're clothed, you're fed, you're housed, and and I'm not saying it's right or just or whatever, but I'm trying to explain their viewpoint of this. So they're seeing it that way, and that's a lot of their experience, whether, again, as either a plantation owner or a white plantation worker or somebody working around the periphery. They're seeing them as being like grown adult children that are being taken care of. And again, it's not correct or right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that is how they saw what was going on. They did not see it as evil. And the slavery experience in America, or the United States, is infinitely different than the slavery experience in French Haiti, which the French just, oh God, that's a shit show on the level of the the early pre-Belgian Congo in the Leopold Congo era. That's also another shit show. But yeah, no, it's Haiti, and that's why Haiti is still a shit show today, is because the way the slavery was run, as just people were consumable. And once Haiti threw out the French, they reinstitute slavery based on skin tones and whatnot, and it's just god awful there. So, yeah, please talk. Yeah, play and talk. Yes, I hear you, but I want to catch up with the chat here. If I'm right, the Civil War wasn't even really about slavery at the start. It was only pushed on by the North to keep European powers from. No, no, that no. There's more, and there is a bot over on YouTube. But hey, the rambles are the reason we're here, Paul. Yeah, it needs to be a mixture, Elizabeth. It needs to be a mix of places. But I think really I need to end this stream here now. I do want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out with me. I want to thank Paul very much, Elizabeth. Ed Don, good to have you here. Chaplain for Bacchus. Who else? Arno, if he's still around. I don't know. He may be drunk and passed out. Felipe, thanks for being here. Holiday Punch. Thanks, everyone. Oh, and Toki, yeah, thank you. I'm just scrolling up the chat to see remembering who was here. Yes, thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. Oh, and Jamuska early on. Don't know if you're still around. But thank you all. We will be back tomorrow, I do believe, to play some War Thunder. We often do get into some philosophical talk while driving tanks. And you're, of course, invited to come and join us and play tanks. Yeah, I know. It needs to be a balance. Paul is right. It needs to be a balance between rambling and talking. It needs to be both. And so, yeah, that'll be it. No Slytherin for at least most of August. They're sort of, the publicity department is on vacation. So, yeah, we're not doing much Slytherin. So, yeah, so I'll just see you next weekend for more streams too. So, yes, hit the like button if you would. Thank you, Paul. Yes, you're still here. Thanks, Arno. Oh, and oh boy, another name that always makes it to T2 Villeneuve. Thank you for being here. So thanks, everyone. I can't drink alcohol now. I have hurt my knee falling. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Okay, guys. So see you hopefully tomorrow, everyone.